Hey, RetconRaider here. Today's video is dedicated to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible. With special thanks to Revenant, Anerdinwarpaint, Antonio Hernandez, Exsellsior, Nathan Welch Jr., and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, let's get started. And welcome back to the Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous beta, as we officially tie up our last few loose ends and set the stage for our assault on the Grey Garrison, which will officially bring Act 1 to an end. I will say, I am surprised it has taken us 26 episodes to get this far, but I suppose in large part that's because of the sheer quantity of text and narrative they throw at you. I do feel like it might be a bit much, but there is still a fair quantity of action and just exploration content. Not to mention, of course, once they've got all that voice acting in place, stuff that we haven't really gotten to see so far in this run, I feel like it'll be a lot more palatable. Anyway, we've still got 4 things on our checklist, so we'd best get to it. We need to swing by the Blackwing Library and take another stab at those skill checks we passed. We need to revisit the marketplace to check on an NPC, and then we just have to head back to the Defender's Heart, check in with a few other NPCs, and have a chat with one more new one. With any luck, we'll also fit some combat in there. Alright, let's see here. I believe we've got a couple of Arcana checks. Yep. Some monstrously large demonic blade fell upon the library, splitting the ruins in two and leaving an enormous black scar. It is possible that Discari himself was the one to destroy this building with his terrifying scythe, Rift Carver. Okay, so that doesn't really tell us anything we didn't already know. We clearly saw that during the intro. Though, it does remind me, I had an interesting thought while I was replaying through Act 1. I originally assumed that this purple crystal knife was some sort of weapon or tool that the Aeon had brought with him for his fight against Discari. But in looking back at it, based on the clues we have since found, especially the vision that the Storyteller had, I think it's actually a shard of Rift Carver, one of the serrations on his giant, crystalline scythe. If I had to guess, I'd say it snapped off when he slew Terendelev, or perhaps more likely when he chopped down the Wardstone before throwing it across the city. I'll also say, I do feel like it's a bit weird, the whole Aeon thing just kind of happens off-screen. I feel like that's the sort of thing they should really show us, but at the same time, I get it. The Wrath campaign has a lot of moving parts and this really cluttered setup, so I guess you have to make a few sacrifices just for the sake of shoving the player into the action.
Well, that happened.
This is a statue of a lean man dressed in wizard's robes. You do not recognize his face. Well, that is a shame, but it happens. Not sure that's really relevant anyway. I think that's just the founder of the library. Oh, you know what? There is actually one other major new content drop for Act 1 that I haven't really touched on. And that is that they have added a ton of new books and lore items just scattered all over Canabris. Seriously, they put like 12 or 15 new books just in the Blackwing Library alone, as well as a bunch in Horgusquirm's Mansion, and a few more scattered around in various other areas like the Defender's Heart. We're not really going to worry about it right now, though some of it may end up being plot relevant, so I am trying to keep it in mind. But a lot of it also just seems to be basic setting info, which I assume is supposed to act as like a primer for players who are unfamiliar with the Pathfinder setting, which I do appreciate. When we hit the full launch series, I might set aside some time just to do special bonus episodes for that stuff, reading the books and yammering about the lore and stuff. Next stop, Market Square. Hey, look at that. I will happily accept some combat. Oh, looks like the kid gloves are off. An armed babau and a Cambion cleric. Oh, and it looks like we are not cheesing our way to victory. Oh, wow. 23 AC. These guys aren't messing around. Nice. Oh, shoot. I forgot about the acid skin. Incoming cultist. That's no big deal.
I'll make short work of this.
The Cambion cleric wasted his turn weapon swapping, just as planned. Buffs up. Right, right. Waljif, buddy, you want to maybe give us a good sneak attack here?
Time to share your treasures.
That wasn't terrible, I suppose. Waljif's okay for now. Let's do some trimming. Nice. Thank you, Ember. Okay, let's peel Layla off. We're going to have her go back up Seela. We'll have Kaiser finish that guy.
Precision and grace.
Oh, hammer time. I am so hip and modern with all my timely references. Alright, so that could have gone slightly better. No, we have to reprioritize here.
Make every strike count.
Nope. Darren, damage control. That should buy Waljif another round. Oh, and now everything is fine.
Distract them from me.
There you go, Waljeff. Now you're finding your stride. Let's top off Waljeff. Thank you, Darren. And there's a man who enjoys his work. Keep your distance, Waljeff. We just put you back together.
Endure this!
Go.
I will see to your demise.
And we are done. Man, those guys really took a beating. In retrospect, what I really should have done was... hold on. What in the world? Why was this random cleric just loaded down with like 20,000 gold worth of gear? Okay, so it was just the one guy. His two buddies had normal stuff. That really feels like a mistake. But I am not complaining. I'll parcel that stuff out a little later. Oh, alright. Let's see if we can get another boatload of magic items. Oh, yeah. Okay, see, this is more along the lines of what we're supposed to be saying out here. I think that other encounter was supposed to be for much later in the game, when we eventually return to Canabras. And we are back. Full disclosure, I have spent the past half hour trying to navigate a series of game stopper bugs. It turns out that after the siege on the Defender's Heart, the marketplace was updated with a variety of new enemies and hazards for us to navigate. But unfortunately, in the current build, the area is also now incredibly unstable. That said, I went ahead and cheesed our way through a few encounters just so we could get to Kaylessa. We'll have a quick chat with her, and then we need to leave this area as quickly as possible. It's easy to forget, this is still just an unfinished beta. The elf hunched up next to you is clutching a small but deep puncture wound. Her appearance is quite remarkable. Her skin is blacker than any Garundi's. Her teeth are fanged, and her hair is gray like that of a decrepit old woman. Her crimson eyes glare at you with a gleam of malice. "What are you looking at, soldier? Checking me out or something?" Kind of. It appears that this woman is a drow. Her race is also known as dark or cavern elves. They are rarely seen on the surface, so it's surprising when her kind are encountered here. "I know who you are. You're Kaylessa, a cultist of Discari." "That's a lie!" Her crimson eyes flash, and she says firmly, "I loathe demons, and I'll kill any I come across." She's clearly holding something back, but she doesn't appear to be lying either. Whatever it is she's hiding, her claims of hating demons sound quite convincing. "You're not lying, but you're not telling me the whole truth either." "What, was I supposed to pour my heart out?" She looks at you defiantly. "You have your war, soldier. I have mine. You're fighting chaos and madness, and I'm fighting lies and pretense. But we both are willing to die for our causes, aren't we?" "I don't get it. Why would Forn slander you?" Kaylessa's gloomy face goes still, as if it were engraved on a tombstone. "You're asking questions that are dangerous in and of themselves. I urge you to stop. The more you know about me, the higher the chance that a dagger of a traitor might find its way into your back." Okay, so obviously drow do exist in Golarion, in the Pathfinder setting. And from what I have been able to gather with some quick research, they're essentially an offshoot of the High Elf race that were corrupted by accidental exposure to the god of destruction, Rovagug, during the Earthfall event, thousands of years in the past. Obviously, they do not worship Lol. She doesn't exist in this setting, but from what I could tell, they do worship Zon-Kuthon, the Prince of Pain, who I believe is Shaylin's corrupted brother, which I guess makes sense. A corrupted god for a corrupted race. That said, I think what's actually going on here is that this is a nod to Second Darkness, one of the more controversial adventure paths from the Pathfinder setting, in which it was revealed that any elf could spontaneously transform into a drow if they performed sufficiently evil actions to corrupt themselves, with the twist being that the elves of Kionin already knew that, but were willing to murder to keep it a secret. I think it's pretty obvious that Forn is an assassin, and Kaylessa here is almost certainly evil as well, but I am curious to see where it's going, so we're going to let her off for now. And then just keep an eye out to see what else pops up as the story progresses. "I believe you. Forn is set the defenders hard. You should keep clear of that place." "It was never my intention to set foot in there. Farewell, soldier. And thank you for believing me." Interesting. Anyway, let us hastily leave this place before everything locks up again. Oh, hey. We'll take that. Alright, back to the Defender's Heart. Just a few more things on our list. Oh, okay, yeah, sure. I was actually kind of bummed out that we didn't get to explore the new combat in the marketplace, so I guess this will help satiate my inherent bloodlust. Hi. I don't suppose you want to talk this out?
Always be ready for the worst.
Alright, well, we tried.
Endure this!
Boring conversation anyway. Alright, let's just chill out and wait for them to come to us. Ah, okay. An archer. I guess that makes sense. And thus it ends. Or at least it will once Waljif's turn comes back up. Waljif? That will do it. Let's go ahead and rearrange his hotbar real quick. We get a lot more use, I think, out of the coup de grace skill than your average party would. So it makes sense to keep it readily accessible. That's another 300 or 400 gold there. Not too shabby. Oh, wow. They are really trying to make up for that whole marketplace thing. Okay. Fighter and illusionist. And I guess that's it. Waljif? Thank you, Waljif. Alright, guys, come on. There we go. Finian for the Winian. And on we go. That does make me wonder, though, if Canabras just became a more dangerous place after that siege. Like they ramped up the random encounter tables or something. But I guess if that was the case, we would have seen more encounters last time, too. I guess that's just RNG for you. I think the first thing we'll do here is do some follow-up on Finian. I'm curious to see where that goes. Come on, Kaiser. So, I actually deliberately avoided talking to this guy in the earlier episodes because in the previous build, he was really just sort of a generic Pathfinder. similar to the guy from Kingmaker who you talked to if you wanted to make generic, non-story companions to fill out your party with. That does seem to have changed with the latest update. They've expanded his dialogue, and he does seem to be hooked into a couple of potential quests, so I guess we will give him a proper talking to. A tall, athletic man greets you. His hair is prematurely gray and cut very short in military style. He is lean, well-groomed, and with a monocle in his eye, twinkling coldly. The bold spark in his eye and his large but agile frame attest that he's a man always ready to get moving. Greetings. I am Hilor, Venture Captain of the Pathfinder Society. I'm the superior officer among Pathfinders in this region of Mendev. However, the Society is running almost no operations here right now. Besides me, there are almost no Pathfinders here. Actually, I'm only stuck here because of an old feud with a demon worshipper named the Spinner of Nightmares. I've had to work alone, without the support of the Society. But I've made a lot of acquaintances among the local mercenaries and daring fighters. If you need any good fighters for an honest cause, talk to me. I do actually like the fact that they're trying to make him more than just a utility NPC, like the parallel character was back in Kingmaker. It was actually one of the new books they added that clued me in that I should go double check on him after the new update. It specifically focused on his hunt for the Spinner of Nightmares. Have you ever heard of a Pathfinder named Finian Dismar? Hilor rubs his chin. Let me think. Dismar. I've definitely heard the name before. Of course you have. I'm a Pathfinder too. So, now you're the commander in these lands. But what about Lady Ori? When I left for the wound, she had just taken up the position. Hilor examines the talking weapon and chuckles sadly. I'm afraid Ori perished during the Third Crusade. Yes, now I remember. Finian Dismar went missing in the wound at the end of the Second Crusade. His name has been on the lists of the fallen for a while. Well, here I am, alive and well. Write in your list that I'm back, and soon I'll file a detailed report about everything that happened to me. Finian's voice is full of joy. I knew it was a misunderstanding, but now everything will return to normal. I need to write to my folks. They probably think I'm dead too. Hilor shakes his head sadly. Poor lad, but such is the fate of a Pathfinder. We face the unknown, but sometimes the unknown wins. And our mind cannot take it. Tell me about your confrontation with the Spinner of Nightmares. It all began with a task of the Pathfinder Society. I arrived in Neurosian with my team to investigate the sudden death of a famous crusader, Baron Falren. We soon focused in on a small hospital for the wealthy, where Falren was being treated shortly before his death. It turned out that a gang of Baphomet's cultists, calling themselves the Labyrinth of the Mind, had gotten a foothold at the hospital. They were obsessed with twisting the minds of their victims and targeted fragile people too weak to resist. The hospital was filled with perfect victims, isolated for weeks from the outside world, completely helpless. And when they returned, they were different, almost normal. But the moment they heard a certain phrase, something dark awoke in their mind, and they transformed into servants of Baphomet, ready to lie, betray, and even kill. The Labyrinth of Mind was preparing to infiltrate all the elite circles in Mendev, but Baron Falren stopped them. He was too loyal to his oath and too resistant to their spells. He fought for his freedom until the strain broke his heart. We opened and cleaned the city of Baphomet's Pit of Vipers. Their den was a cradle of sin and filth. They cast spells on each other, and their loathsome fantasies stepped real from their minds into the world. They dreamt of horrible and forbidden things, and they fought like mad. We burned the place to the ground and slaughtered everyone we could, but the leaders of the cult were able to flee, and they were set upon revenge. They abducted my daughter, Lori, who served under my command in the Pathfinder Society. They left me a note full of tart insults, mockery, and sneers. From that note, I learned the name of my enemy, the Spinner of Nightmares. A few months later, I confirmed that she was the leader of the Labyrinth of Mind. My hunt has begun. I will get Lori back, at any cost. Hilor grits his teeth with bulldog determination. I see. I'd like to know more about you, Hilor. What exactly are you interested in? I am a common Pathfinder. Oh, hold on. Okay, I think we just stumbled into his older dialogue tree from before the update. Obviously, this is still all a work in progress. And they have a lot of placeholders. Oh yeah, look at that. There's the previous version of his story introduction. So they do seem to be actively revising his dialogue tree. Tell me about your daughter. Hilor smiles, showing his healthy white teeth. As a girl, Lori was just an angel. We lost her mother early on. She was left to follow my example, a drifter with little idea how to talk to a 10-year-old girl. But even with such questionable parenting, Lori managed to grow into a wonderful girl. Brave, smart, beautiful, and entirely unbearable. She's always argued with me about everything. When Lori was 18 and told me she was going to be a Pathfinder, all I said was, "All right." I knew there was no use to try to talk her out of it, and she was a fine Pathfinder. Hilor's fist clenched with a painful-sounding crack. I'll never forgive the Spinner of Nightmares for taking my girl from me. Tell me about the Pathfinder Society. Okay, so that seems like pretty generic world info. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything here that seems like it's apt to be relevant to this campaign. And then these two are just utility options, recruiting and retraining, respectively. Good luck. Watch your back. Only trust your closest friends. The enemy is cunning and treacherous. Good advice, Hilor. I will keep that in mind. Now we need to do a quick follow-up with the Storyteller. Storyteller, I have something new to show you. The Storyteller's hand touches Finian. What a peculiar weapon. I feel intelligence in it, but it seems chipped. Tee Grandpa Elf, stop touching me. It tickles. What can you tell me about Finian, Storyteller? Hello, Grandpa Elf. The Storyteller carefully takes Finian from your hands. Hello, Finian. He closes his eyes and takes a deep breath. His face contorts in a painful grimace. I'm coming to again. How long have I been here? They kept me in a cage for 3 days. I know this because 3 times the light from under the door disappeared for long. Then they chained me to the chair and the bladesmith. Everyone calls him Bladesmith. He placed a device with a jar over me. Since then, it's like they are slowly frying me. First, I tried to break free, but I got tired. Then I screamed. But now I've lost my voice, though the pain is burning right through me. The storyteller stops. His voice changes, becomes more frightened. I think I lost consciousness again. But when I woke up, the pain was gone, and I wasn't tied to the table anymore. I was standing near it, and someone else lay on the table, a burned corpse covered with a black crust. The master took out a handsaw and was sawing off his head in a very focused way. I should have run back then, but I couldn't for some reason. This burned corpse had a symbol on his belt, just like I do. An eye and a star. My favorite belt, a good one. Where would a stranger get one? Probably it was someone from my clan, some distant family member. The storyteller stops. When he speaks again, you hear only a muffled whisper. Those crusaders, I was glad when I saw them. I thought they came to help, but how did I happen to kill them all? Someone told me to, and I obeyed. I don't understand. I understand nothing now. I need to catch my breath. I need all this to stop, at least for a minute. I just have to understand what's happening to me. I just need to rest. The storyteller shakes his head, slowly coming to his senses. Yeah, that's pretty messed up, but very informative. So this is Finian's past, but what awaits him in the future? The dead have no future, but... The storyteller smiles. I see an endless ocean on a good day and a boat, flying over the waves. I am so excited, but I don't know whose vision this is. Is this a soul existing here and now, or a soul reborn? The storyteller gives Finian back to you. Please take care of this young boy. He is finally in the right hands. Don't worsen his suffering by engaging in anything dishonorable. Oh, stop it, Grandpa Elf. I can take care of myself. I'm not a kid. I don't know what horrors you told the commander, but don't you worry about it, all right? Take care of yourself. Fascinating. So my big takeaway there is that, much like the Crusader from Hilor's story, Finian's mind simply rejected being turned into a weapon for a cultist, so he essentially shut himself off for decades. I also have to imagine the Bladesmith and the Spinner of Nightmares will be foes that we'll end up having to contend with later down the line. Anyway, on to the last thing on our list. Let's have a chat with the mysterious Indarah. And her companion Pinkeye. I didn't even notice him there. An imposing young Oread is surrounded by a crowd of crusaders who are hanging on to her every word. I hope this example clearly illustrates the difference between Jistka legionaries from the last war and the Crusaders. The perfection of form and spirit they were imbued with during creation turned them into parts of a well-balanced war machine. Not a ragtag bunch of individuals, but a united whole. Now, tell me again why I am supposed to be impressed by your reckless assaults, where everyone is fighting for their ego and for the right to beat their peers to a swift but pointless, heroic sacrifice? Some of the Crusaders grumble unhappily, but it is clear that they are captivated by the woman's words. The only exception is a scraggly and disheveled halfling monk whose puffy black eye gives him away as a brawler and a troublemaker. He enthusiastically pushes forward and tries to engage, but one of his friends swiftly jabs him in the back with an elbow, making the poor fellow pause to catch his breath. Well, it looks like we've got ourselves a student of warfare. The woman gives you a suspicious look and raises an eyebrow. Were your words meant to recognize my achievements, or to start a fight, the way Mendevian Crusaders usually do? One of the Crusaders angrily curls his fists and retorts with a burst of passion. If those jists of yours, or whatever, had come for us, we'd have their guts for garters. You think we've never fought a mighty adversary before? The soldier's stern facade cannot fully conceal his relish. He clearly plans to enjoy this confrontation. The Crusaders around him look upon their exotic opponent with a mixture of irritation and piqued interest. The woman chuckles before cutting off her opponent. I would love to see you storm a 60-foot-tall walking castle shaped like a gigantic elephant that carries siege fortifications on its back. And I'll have you know those fortifications were defended by Justkin priest craftsmen, armed with demon-bound war machines. They use the enemies you cannot defeat as mindless weapons. The woman gives the people around her a triumphant look and adjusts her hair with pointed nonchalance. Her voice takes on a lecturer's tone. You should not argue with someone who happens to be the most authoritative researcher on the history of warfare 3,000 years before the foundation of Absalom. The woman looks at you and flashes an amused smile. The lecture is over. Do my esteemed listeners have any questions? I do. Who are you? I am Indarah, a warrior, magus, and scholar of classical warfare from Garund. The woman peers at you apprehensively, then sighs. I admit that I am mildly offended by the fact that my name is entirely unfamiliar to you. You could make an effort and learn the names of the best of your own race. Garund, huh? You've come a long way to be here. I like to think of myself as an inhabitant of Galarion, and I don't like to identify with any country in particular. What, like Garund? The one you just identified with? Okay, well, why'd you come here? To witness a legendary war. The confrontation between denizens of a plane famous for its love of violence, and the Crusaders from every continent united by the common goal of defending their home. An epic struggle of colossal proportions. That has not been particularly epic so far, truth be told. The monk with the black eye grins and mutters under his breath. Maybe she just can't see it from here? The view will get way more epic if she stops hiding among us and takes a walk outside. The woman smirks contemptuously. She does not deem the monk's words worthy of comment. I disagree. The Crusaders are doing a commendable job at resisting the demons. Oh, yes, and the situation we have found ourselves in can attest to that. But then again, demons are no better. Their preferred strategy also involves brute strength, mindless assault, and unfounded confidence in their superiority. Well then, why don't you join the Crusaders and show them how fighting should be done? No. I am a historian, an analyst, a theorist. Do you know what these three words have in common? They describe a mortal woman who does not participate in the conflict upon which her thesis will be founded. But then again, I will hardly be able to describe this mess as anything other than a feeble likeness of the last war of Jistka. The monk with the damaged eye grins slyly and comments. The more dangerous the upcoming scuffle is, the more motivated we are to find clever and pretty words to justify not actually doing the fighting. Not sure that guy's actually a monk, though I do like him. What is this last war you keep mentioning? The last war of Jistka, of course. A large-scale conflict that took place 3,000 years before the foundation of Absalom. It was a war against the Osirian pharaoh of forgotten plagues, the war that ended the legendary Jistka Imperium, an epic struggle that became the most vibrant page in military history. Alas, all conflicts that followed it were but a pale shadow. including the one I am witnessing here. Why do you find the last war of Jistka so inspiring? Imagine legions of golems imbued with extraplanar spirits marching into battle. Imagine flying cities that swoop out of the clouds like terrifying monstrous birds of prey to drop forces on top of enemy castles. Picture gigantic mechanisms powered by captive and very angry demons and devils. Imagine standing in the warpath of walking citadels, or having to cover your ears to block out the sound of cannons loaded with shrieking elementals. Finally, imagine the ultimate weapon that defeated the Jistka, the deadly Night Plague. This affliction was an attack dog, a trained epidemic, a tamed pestilence, striking only those who its master wanted to kill. Imagine all these terrors and understand that no flight of fancy can even come close to the horror of the nightmares that they made real. I will admit, it does sound cool, but I don't think we have the budget for that. How do you know so much about this war? I can say without false modesty that there is no more authoritative researcher on Golarion when it comes to the history of warfare 3,000 years before the foundation of Absalom. I've dedicated my whole life to this subject. I've personally visited old battlefields and studied the most mysterious and forbidden archives containing chronicles of ancient wars, sometimes risking my life in the process. I saw a fallen sky city of the Shori Empire with my own eyes. I ripped out the control crystal from an exterminator-class combat golem that guarded a Jistka laboratory with my own hands. These fingers held the glass flask that the servants of Pharaoh of Forgotten Plagues used to create the first generation of pestilence that devastated the Jistka Imperium. How do I know so much? I saw and touched everything I am telling you about. Okay, that is impressive. But you're still wrong to treat the Crusaders with such disdain. Allow me to explain. A debate? Oh, I will be happy to prove that the current conflict can't hold a candle to the last war of Jistka. Very well. The last war of Jistka was waged using a significantly greater number of troops. Both sides actively relied on reinforcements from allied planes, and their strategic planning was perfected through no fewer than 7 rounds of intensive design. None of the above applies to this war of yours. It's a good game. Compared to the Jistka, we are but stone club-wielding kobolds. I would like to conclude my thesis with a few words of wise counsel from Dagon, an advisor to the Pharaoh of Forgotten Plagues. I doubt you will be able to comprehend the true genius of his statement, but here it is nonetheless. A gadfly sees the ox pays no heed to the gadfly, but Crimson Fever takes them both. Cool. Let's see here. Well, we can automatically pass the diplomacy check. Thank you, Ember. So, obviously that's the one we'll go with. The events of the past are shrouded in legend, but the fate of the world is being decided here and now. That is what you fail to grasp. The earnestness on the faces of those around you has taken away Indarah's panache, encouraging her to backtrack and stumble over words. Of course, I'm not trying to diminish the importance of current events. What I am trying to say is that from the standpoint of history, and particularly the history of warfare, she falls silent, fixedly staring at the unfriendly eyes of her audience. The true importance of these developments won't become obvious until later. Indarah offers a pretentious dismissal. As a scholar, I cannot deny that there is a certain truth beneath your skeptical statements. History is a complex discipline rooted in fact and an evidentiary base that grows ever more meager the farther the described period is from the present moment. Of course, if I were to argue in bad faith, The way Crusaders embellish their tales of slaying a single Brimarak by adding a dozen Baelors, for example, I could win this debate. But I am above such things, and therefore I am forced to admit that your skepticism is not entirely without merit. Well, gosh, that is mighty big of you. So, have you changed your mind about joining the Crusaders? I don't see the point. You Crusaders appear to be quite confident in your skills. If nothing else, you've presented your arguments to me with extreme confidence. Indarah unbuckles her sword belt and hands you the weapon. This is a worthy blade. It will be of use not only for the strong, but also for the wise. And this is where I bid you farewell. Before the end of the day, I was planning to observe how winged demons use pack tactics to drive their prey like herds of livestock. It is about time I got back to my research. The hint of a smile graces Indarah's lips when she sees disappointment in the eyes of many Crusaders around her. Stay safe. Okay, so first of all, she just dimension doored out, so that means she's at least level 10? Or she has an item that can do that. Also, she took the Crusaders with her. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but, actually, you know what? Given her attitude and the way that whole event sort of played out, I would not be surprised if Indarah brought her own crowd of rabble-rousers with her, just to really kind of create a scene like that she can be at the center of. Claw of Jistka. A straight sword forged by the craftsmen of Garund. The scabbard is decorated with engravings that depict battles between Osirion and the Jistka Imperium, accompanied by Indarah's musings embroidered in golden thread. Which is a pretty fancy description for what appears to be a standard masterwork short sword. Which means it's either a placeholder for a magic item, or it might be something that's important later. My guess would be Act 4 or 5, since they just fleshed those out with the latest update. Also, we still have to check in with Forn. I almost forgot about him. The elf's beautiful and pale face bears the expression of sad aloofness. How may I help? I think Kaylessa might be a drow. You see a shadow pass over Forn's eyes for a single instant. Then his face is just as impassive as before. A drow? Unlikely. It's more plausible that her dark service has left a brand similar to the one that twisted the entire cursed drow race. A coincidence, I would think. Oh yeah, he did not like that. We may have just put ourselves on a hit list. You know, I met Kaylessa. Forn's melancholic expression remains calm, but his entire body tenses up, and his fingers wrap around the handle of his weapon. Under what circumstances? I hope you seized the opportunity to kill her. Wow, and subtlety goes right out the window. He is straight up ready to attack us, depending on how we answer. Yeah, so we're definitely in the middle of the Second Darkness conspiracy. Are you confident about your allegations? Forn lowers his head and says in a hollow voice, I am. Her misdeeds are terrible and proven with absolute certainty. She claims she doesn't serve the demons. Of course she does. In an attempt to buy her life, she would stoop to the boldest and most egregious of lies. Whose word do you believe? Hers or mine? Well, to be perfectly honest, I don't believe either of you. But I am curious to see which one of you will try to kill me first. I'd actually put my money on Forn. Yeah, I let her go. After giving you a saddened look, Forn stares off in the distance. Your decision is regrettable. I'm afraid that in doing so, you've condemned her many future victims to death. I suppose it just means that bringing this hunt to a close falls upon my shoulders. Well, I wish you luck with that. I should be going. Good fortune to you. Okay, so no real resolution there, but our quest was updated. And it does appear to be another wait-and-see situation. To make it clear, I do think that Kaylessa is, in fact, evil and up to no good. I mean, according to the second Darkness adventure path, an elf does have to perform an act of great evil to transform into a dark elf. Then again, what's-her-face? Jaethal. Jaethal did some pretty terrible stuff, and she didn't turn into a dark elf, so I don't know. It does feel very inconsistent. At any rate, looks like that is the last thing on our to-do list, so I think this makes for a pretty good breaking point. We'll hit the pause button for now. I'll take care of our bookkeeping off-screen, maybe do a little grinding. Oh, and get that new gear equipped. All those goodies we pulled off that dead Cambion cleric. And we'll pick up here next time, as we finally lay siege to the Grey Garrison, and usher Act 1 to a messy end. And to think, this is all just set up for the actual bulk of the campaign. We're not even in charge of the crusade yet, we're just some random mook. See you then. Oh, and remember, although I do love playing Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous, you can find out more about the game by visiting the official website, the official social media feeds, or the official store pages. And if you'd like to help support the channel, then feel free to push any of the buttons that do the things, or maybe even check out the Patreon. Links are in the description.